Alright, in this video we're going to look at how to multiply expressions. So we're going to start with something called the distributive property. So our first example, let's look at 3 times the quantity 2x minus 4. Now what this means is we have our group 2x minus 4 and we want to build it 3 times, or we have this group 3 times. So let's think about what 2x minus 4 is. Well, 2x are 2 positive x tiles and minus 4 is 4 negative unit tiles. Okay, so here's our group 2x minus 4. Well, this multiplying by 3 just means we have this exact group 3 times. So I'm just going to draw this group 3 times. So we have our group 2x minus 4 3 times. So now all we want to do is think about what would we have total. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 x's, and then 4, 8, 12 negative unit tiles. So 3 times the group 2x minus 4 equals 6x minus 12. Now we don't always want to be drawing this, but this is a good foundation for how we could actually get 6x minus 12 from 3 times the group 2x minus 4. So if we notice, we're building this group 3 times. It means we have 3 of all the pieces or all the terms on the inside. So all we're going to do is multiply everything on the inside by 3. 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times minus 4 is minus 12. And that's what the distributive property is. We're distributing this 3 into each of the inside terms because we have 3 of everything. So let's look at another example. A very basic second example. Okay, so we have 5 times the group 2y plus 7. That means we have this group 2y plus 7 5 times. Now without drawing this, let's just think about what we have. Well, we're building 2y 5 times. So we're going to do 5 times 2y and get 10y. And we have 5 groups of our 7 unit tiles. So we do 5 times 7, which is 35. Very simple. Okay, so why don't you try this one on your own. Press pause, quickly try it, then press play when you're ready to check your work. Okay, so we have 3x minus 4y. That's our group, and we're building it 10 times. So we're going to do 10 times 3x. Well, that's 30x. And then 10 times our negative 4y is simply negative 40y. And that's our answer. So this is the distributive property. Now let's look at what happens when we have a little bit different terms on the outside. Okay, what happens if we have 2x times the group 5x minus 8? Now here we can't really do the same type of thing because we can't build 5x minus 8 2x times, but our idea is the same thing. We want to multiply all of our inside terms by this outside number, by this outside term, 2x. So we want to do 2x times 5x. Now, 2 times 5 is simply 10, but now we have an x by an x. When we do x times x, that's simply x squared. So we have our x side going up and our x going across. And if we remember about building these with tiles, if we had 2x's going up and 5x's going across, our x squared tiles would fill those slots. So 2x times 5x is 10x squared. And 2x times minus 8 is minus 16x. So our idea is the same thing. We're still distributing. We're still multiplying all of our inside terms by this outside number. Now we just got to be careful with how do we deal with multiplying variable terms. Okay, 2x times 5x is 10x squared, because 2 times 5 is 10, and x times x is x squared. And 2x times minus 8 is just minus 16x. Okay, so why don't you try this one? 3y times 4x minus y. So press pause, try it on your own, then press play when you're ready to check your work. Okay, so we notice we're still doing the distributive property. We still have a group being multiplied by one single number. Okay, we want to do 3y times 4x. So 3 times 4 is 12. And we notice we're doing y times x. Well, we have y going up, x going across. We know that the xy tile is going to fill that slot because y times x or x times y is simply our xy. And now we do 3y times negative y. And that's simply negative 3y squared. Okay, because y times y is y squared, and 3 times just 1, because we're doing 3y times 1y, gives us that 3. Great. Now one more type of example. If our outside number is negative, we want to think what we have. To do. All we need to do is be just careful with our signs. Okay, and also just because we have 3 terms in the middle doesn't mean we do anything different. We want to multiply every single term in our group, no matter how big the group is, by this outside number, by this outside term. So we do negative 2x times 3x is negative 6x squared. Now we want to do negative 2x times our negative 4y tiles. Okay, remember this minus 4y, we visualize this as being 4 negative y tiles. So negative 2x times negative 4y is positive, so we do plus 4 and xy. Because remember, x by y is our xy. When we multiply an x term by a y term, we get the xy term. And then negative 2x times a positive 1 is negative 2x, because negative 2x times 1 is negative 2x. And just negative means we're going to subtract. So our answer is negative 6x squared plus 8xy minus 2x. Now remember, with the distributive property, we're multiplying all of our inside terms by our outside number. And this is only the case when we have one number on the outside. Okay, so why don't you try these 3 examples by pressing pause. And then press play when you're ready to check your work. Alright, so let's check the first one. Okay, we're doing 3 times the group 7x plus 11, so we have 21x plus 33. 3 times 7x is 21x, 3 times 11 is 33. The next example, negative 4x times negative 1x. Well, negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4, and remember x times x is x squared. And negative 4x times positive 11 is negative 44x, so we just say minus 44x. And our last example, 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times plus 4y is plus 12xy. And 3x times minus 5 is minus 15x. Great. So now we want to look at the next type of example. We're still multiplying expressions, but now we want to see what happens if we're multiplying something with 2 terms by something else with 2 terms. 2x plus 5 times the group 3x plus 11. Now this one's different is because we're not really distributing here. We don't have one number on the outside. We're multiplying one group by another group. Now when we first learned how to do this, we built this up with tiles. This was our length, 2x plus 5. So we built 2x plus 5 going across and 3x plus 11 going up. And we tried and figured out what tiles fill those slots. Well, we want to look at how can we multiply this without really thinking in terms of tiles. Now, this is very similar to the distributive property. Okay, so what we want to do is if we just had this 5, we would know we'd multiply everything on the inside of the second term by this outside 5. We do 5 times 3x and 5 times 11. But now we have 2 terms, so the idea is we just want to do it the distributive property twice. So we're distributing this 5 through, and we want to distribute the 2x through. We want to multiply every single term in our second group by each term in our first group. Now the way we organize this thinking to help us is we make what's called the generic rectangle. And our generic rectangle, again, just helps us keep track of our multiplication because we want to multiply every single term, each term in this first group by each term in the second group. We want to distribute the 5 through, and we want to distribute the 2x through. So we're doing two distributive properties into one. So what we do is we make this generic rectangle. Now the reason why it's 2 going across and 2 going up is because each group has 2. So on our left side we have our 2x plus 5. Okay, that's just our 2x plus 5. That's our length, and our width is 3x plus 11. Okay, so this just helps us organize our work. So now what we want to do is we want to distribute our 2x through our second group. So we're doing 2x times the group 3x plus 11. So 2x times 3x, we're already good at this, is 6x squared. And 2x times 11 is 22x. Now we want to distribute the 5 through. So we want to do 5 times 3x and get 15x. 5 times 11 and get 55. Okay, so every single term on the inside is just the multiplication of the terms that make up those side lengths. This is 2x times 3x, so it's 6x squared. 2x times 11 is 22x. Again, this just helps us organize the fact that we want to distribute this 2x through our second group. We want to distribute the 5 through our second group. Now, this is just a way to organize our thinking, so this isn't really the final answer. So what we want to do is we want to say, well, what is the answer? What is 2x plus 5 times 3x plus 11? So now we just want to collect all of our tiles. So we have 6x squared tiles. We have 15x tiles in the upper left. We have 22x tiles in the bottom right. So we have a total, 15x plus 22x is 37x plus our 55 units. And this is our final answer, 6x squared plus 37x plus 55. All right, let's look at another one. Okay, x minus 4 times 2x plus 9. If you want, you could press pause and try it on your own, or you could just let it go, and then we could work on this one together. So again, we want to distribute each term in our first group to our second group. We want to do the distributive property twice. We want to do negative 4 times 2x and negative 4 times 9, as well as x times 2x and x times 9. We're multiplying a group by a group, so we just want to do the distributive property as many times as we need to. We want to multiply every single term in our first group by every single term in our second group. So again, the way we do that, the way to organize our thinking and our work is we make a generic rectangle. Okay, so we have 2 terms in our first group, so we're going to have 2 columns or 2 rows, and we have 2 terms in our second group, so we're going to have 2 columns. So we have x minus 4. It's very important that you include the minus 4 because this is, remember, a positive x and a negative 4. And then across the bottom we have a positive 2x and a positive 9. Okay, remember, each term gets its own row and its own column. So now we want to distribute the x through our second group. So x times 2x is 2x squared. Okay, 1x times 2x is 2x squared. Remember, x by x is x squared. Now 1x times 9, x times 9 is simply 9x. And it's very important that we be very careful with our exponents. X times 9 is 9x. Okay, x by x is x squared. Now negative 4 times 2x is negative 8x. It's very important that we include this negative. We include this minus 8x. And then negative 4 times positive 9 is negative 36. Again, this is just a way to organize our work. So let's combine our tiles. Let's collect our tiles for our final answer. We have 2x squared. Negative 8x and a positive 9x leaves us with a positive 1x. 9x minus 8x is just positive 1x. And then we have minus 36. All right, so why don't you try this one on your own by pressing pause and pressing play to check your work. So press pause, make your generic rectangles, multiply, and then press play when you're ready to check your work. All right, so we're multiplying again. We want to distribute the 3x in through our second group and our negative 4 through our second group. So we're going to make our generic rectangle to organize that. So 2 terms in our first group means we have 2 rows. 2 terms in our second group, so we're going to have 2 columns. We have 3x and a negative 4 going up. We have 5x and a negative 2 going across. 3x times 5x, 15x squared. X times x is x squared. 3x times negative 2 is negative 6x. Be careful that you got to keep that x there. 3x times negative 2 is negative 6x. Negative 4 times 5x, negative 20x, and negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. Let's collect our tiles. So we have 15x squared, negative 20x, and another negative 6x is negative 26x plus 8. All right, and let's look at one more type of example. Okay, hopefully this is getting very easy, as it should. This isn't a complicated skill as long as we understand what we're doing and we know how to organize our work. So we have 2x minus 1 times x plus 7y minus 10. Okay, the first thing we need to do is think about what's different about this example. Well, we notice our second group has 3 terms, but our idea doesn't change. We weren't scared with the distributive property when our group had 3 terms. We still got to distribute this negative 1 through all the terms in our second group. We still got to distribute the 2x through all the terms in our second group. So we just have to change how we draw our generic rectangle. So we still have 2 terms in our first group, so we're going to have 2 rows. Now in our second group, we have 3 terms. We have x tiles, we have 7y tiles, we have negative 10 unit tiles. So we have 3 different terms, 3 different types of tiles, so we need 3 columns. Okay, this generic rectangle just helps us organize our multiplication, organizes our distribution. We have to distribute the 2x through all the terms and the negative 1 through all the terms. So we have 2x minus 1 going up the side, and across the bottom we have our x's, we have our positive 7y, and we have our negative 10. Okay, and if we were multiplying by 4 terms, we have 4 rows. If we multiply by 5 terms, we have 5 rows. And the same thing over here. If there was 3 terms in our first group, we'd have 3 rows going up. If we had 5 terms in our first group, we'd have 5 rows going up. Now the same thing. We want to distribute the 2x by all 3 of these terms. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times positive 7y is positive 14xy. And 2x times negative 10 is negative 20x. We just multiplied all of our terms in our second group by the 2x. We distributed the 2x through all the terms. 2x times x, 2x squared. 2x times 7y is 14xy. Remember, x times y is our xy. And 2x times negative 10 is negative 20x. Now there's negative 1. Negative 1 times x is just negative 1x. So we just write negative x. Negative 1 times positive 7y is negative 7y, because negative 1 times positive 7 is just negative 7. And we got to keep that y there. And negative 1 times negative 10 is positive 10. Now we just need to collect our work. Or collect our tiles. We have 2x squareds. We have 14xy's. We have negative 20x here, and we have another negative 1x here, so we have a total negative 21x. We have negative 7y, or minus 7y, and we have our plus 10. So that's our answer. So here are some practice problems. So when you see them all, press pause. Try them all. And then press play when you're ready to check your work. Okay, so copy these all down. Press pause, and press play when you're ready to check your answers. Okay, so our first one, x plus 3 times 4x plus 5. Make a quick generic rectangle. We have x plus 3 going up. We have 4x plus 5 across the bottom. So this is 4x squared. The upper left we have 12x. The bottom right we have 5x. And the upper right we have 15. Collect them all, we have 4x squared plus 17x plus 15. The next one, same thing, we have 2 terms by 2 terms, so we're going to make a 2 by 2. Generic rectangle, we have 7x and a negative 3 up the side. We have 10x and a positive 1 across the bottom. 7x times 10x is 70x squared. Negative 3 times 10x is negative 30x. 7x times 1 is 7x. And negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Collect our tiles. We have 70x squared tiles. Negative 30x plus 7x is negative 23x. And we have our minus 3. And our last one, 2 terms by 3 terms. We're going to have 2 rows, 3 columns. So we have 3y plus 11 up the side. We have x minus y plus 4 across the bottom. Now we distribute. 3y times x is 3xy. 3y times negative y is negative 3y squared. And 3y times 4 is 12y. The top, 11 times x is 11x. 11 times negative y is negative 11y. And 11 times 4 is positive 44. Okay, collect our tiles. 3xy minus 3y squared plus 11x. Negative 11y plus 12y gives us a positive 1y, or just positive y, plus 44. And that's how we multiply expressions. So if you need more examples, refer to the textbook or some of the online resources. All right.